So good afternoon to all our shareholder partners. It's really great to be standing here or sitting here in front of you all and tonight as we really share I would say the very unique evolution of our story and the building of capabilities as we really define a movement of change in the world with our botanical synthesis technology. The last 10 days for me has been really very humbling. As many of you know, I was in the US for the first 2 weeks of March. I must have had north of 35 meetings. We announced the CDMO services business at Bio, and Bio being the umbrella organization for biotech and for pharmaceutical companies. It really was the right place to be announcing the opening up of our botanical synthesis platform, just given the magnitude of opportunity that the technology process provides pharmaceutical companies, as well as other major verticals we're going to talk about today. You'll see that my voice is challenged, and that's because of all the meetings that we've had and the engagement with customers, with research analysts, and with bankers has really been humbling as people start to really come to grips with the magnitude of opportunity that our technology brings so many different verticals and the impact that we can have on the world. And the CDMO business really helps crystallize our company's mission of really driving human utility value to literally hundreds of millions of consumers across the world as we look to drive transformational, positive changes in their overall health and wellness. So it's very, very exciting to be able to have Zaki, who's been an amazing partner and coach and mentor to me over the last 3.5 years, to join this conference call, and actually in his capacity as the president of the CDMO services business unit, to have him actually present that section. And I'm so happy that I convinced him 12 months ago, roughly, as we started to kind of evolve the thinking and understand the importance of opening up our technology, to actually have him really bring 35 years of experience to the front to lead the charge of this unique business unit. So today's presentation, we're gonna talk a little bit about the CDMO business unit. We're going to talk about it in the context of the total company and our technology, our botanical synthesis technology, which is really underpins a products business unit, which is our direct-to-consumer business unit that's monetizing our botanical synthesis technology. And then we'll talk about this exciting new CDMO services business unit. As many of you know, we've already signed a number of significant contracts, and which Zaki will talk more about. So I'm going to start now, Justin, and hopefully we'll get the technology right. Okay, how's that? First time, huh? Okay, great. So just obviously everybody reading the forward-looking statements. You can all read faster than I can talk. Okay, so let's get into it. So look, I wanted to kind of go back and just kind of crystallize our technology and help people really understand the core biotech technology that we have. And what we do every single day is botanical synthesis. That's what we do. And what we're doing with our technology is that we're turning thousands of plants into predictable and reliable sources of new therapeutic molecules. And this is the real genesis of 15 years of work, of just under $100 million that we've invested in our technology. And obviously, we're super focused on our patents and our IP as it relates to patents that have been granted, as well as there's a number of patents pending now, as we increase our portfolio of patents, as well as the know-how, deep know-how that we've built. Now, as a company, the ability with our botanical synthesis to produce consistent, reliable, and economically viable plant molecules gives us this unique opportunity to address unmet medical needs across so many indications today that the pharmaceutical industry have unresolved. They have not been able to address significant challenges out there. For example, in rare diseases, only 5% of rare diseases have actual treatments, effective treatments. There are so many opportunities for us through the development of these unique molecules to be able to drive such a transformational change in people's health and wellness. And not just in the indication space, but think about, what we're doing in the nutraceutical space as the world also looks towards more and more finding solutions for preventative medicine. If you look today, there are literally so much of the healthcare costs are actually stemming from preventable chronic health conditions. What if we could use the molecules of plants to really make sure we were driving this preventative, holistic preventative mentality as we look to kind of reinforce our health and wellness as we move through the aging cycle? And our plant molecules, leveraging the power of botanical synthesis, can play such a critical role in this area. So ultimately, our technology process allows us to turn north of 500,000 plants out there into scientifically reliable sources of patentable biologic molecules. And we all understand the efficacy that the plant kingdom gives us as human beings, as we've been living in harmony with plants for hundreds of thousands of years. And these plants are producing for us simple molecules, complex long-chain molecules such as proteins and enzymes, and often composites of molecules. But unfortunately, industry, specifically pharma, have not been able to unlock the potential and have faced so many challenges to be able to access these critical molecules. These included the fact that you have massive consistency challenges because plants operate in an ever-changing ecosystem. Major economic viability, because often these plant molecules are found at such low levels, and it's just not economically viable to use extraction to be able to access enough of these plant molecules. And then thirdly, and importantly for pharmaceutical companies, the whole notion of IP and the need to be able to patent molecules has literally been impossible because you can't patent nature. Now, our botanical synthesis technology has really been able to disrupt and address every one of these major barriers. As we're able to produce in our facilities, we're able to produce with reliability, with consistency. We have now scaling of our manufacturing to have really strong economic viability. And then importantly, because we're not just mirroring nature, but we're also magnifying the levels of the phytomedicinal compounds, and we're changing the ratios, we're able to get composition patents, which is so important, obviously, from an IP perspective. I want to just take a few minutes to remind our shareholder partners just of the technology process that really underpins botanical synthesis. And as you know, we only have to take the plant once, just once. And we're able, through our knowledge, to identify exactly where in the plant are the important cells that produce the critical phytomedicinal compounds that are so important for our health and wellness. And we take these cells and we grow them initially on a Petri dish. And during this period, we expose ourselves to literally hundreds, sometimes thousands of experiments as we look to optimize the food we feed the cells, other critical variable conditions such as lighting and temperature, and a whole bunch of other things that we keep in our secret box. And during this stage, we are getting these cells to do two things. One, we're teaching the cells to literally produce the exact mirror of phytomedicinal compounds that are contained in the plant. But in addition to doing this, we also get the plants to be able to magnify the levels of specific targeted phytomedicinal compounds by an order of magnitude. And we know that that's part of the secret of VINIA, where we magnify the levels of piceid resveratrol by a factor of 100 times versus what's found in the red grape cell. And importantly, we do all of this without changing the molecular structure. So, of course, it's non-GMO, which is more and more important for consumers. And once we reach a composition that we feel has the gravity to be able to drive the disruption from an overall health and wellness perspective, we lock it and we create a cell bank. And we never have to go back to the plant. Then we have our perpetual process as from a manufacturing perspective, where we take our cell banks, we have this unique ability, which is a critical part of our inimitable, sustainable competitive advantage, is the ability for us to literally train the cells. We train the cells to be able to literally survive from solid media into liquid medium, and to survive in these massive industrial scale bioreactors, and we're talking now thousands of liter bioreactors, to be able to deal with all the liquid and all the shear forces from the aeration that we're pumping into it. Because these cells, plant cells, are super smart. They have memories. And we have literally a training regime, a training routine that we train the cells to be able to cope with the shear forces and everything else they deal with in these massive industrial scale bioreactors. And we get them in a very short period, normally 18 to 20 days, to elicit, to produce those phytomedicinal compounds. And then we harvest the cells, we take the water out with a unique industrial process, and we simply dry the cells, and we're left with the final molecule, always highly soluble, bioavailable, and with great efficacy. This is the core of the power of the botanical synthesis process that feeds the two business units that we have operating the company today: a direct-to-consumer product business, and then the CDMO services business. Now, what we announced at Bio is the ability of our botanical synthesis technology to be able to really produce the array, the portfolio of molecules that pharmaceutical companies as well as cosmeceutical companies are very, very focused on getting their hands on unique molecules that can link to improving our health and wellness across multiple different indications. And these can be simple molecules, complex molecules, as well as literally a composite of molecules, which we call a complex composite of molecules. Now, when you step back and you look at the world of molecules, and you look at each of these different types of molecules that have been used today as really the sources, the core sources of molecules driving pharmaceutical therapeutic solutions today. You have chemical synthesis, which is driving small molecules. You have the pharmaceutical world in the last 70 years really anchored and relied on chemical synthesis. And since the 90s, specifically in the last 20 years, we've seen the world of biologics, which are complex molecules. They're a much higher molecular weight, much more complex heterogeneous structures, really driving the next generation of therapeutic solutions. And what we bring to the marketplace, which is very unique, are biologics, what we're calling biologics plus. And obviously, we're utilizing living cell cultures based on the fact that we're deriving it from plants, and we can do both high and low molecular weight. But what's important to understand is when we understand the unique advantages that our biologics plus molecules have, they are offering significant utility value to industries in critical billion-dollar industries like pharmaceuticals, cosmeceuticals, nutraceuticals, and even food and nutrition. Our molecules have higher safety because our molecules are literally derived from nature. And we as human beings have been living with plants for literally hundreds of thousands of years. We have much lower development risk. We have much lower production costs and a much faster speed to molecule. So bio was a perfect place for us to launch our Biologics Plus molecules and the CDMO services business unit, because pharmaceutical companies today are on this massive search for the next molecule that they can use to address different indications. Similarly, cosmeceutical companies as well, as they're looking for efficacy in the cosmeceutical space. So in summary, our botanical synthesis technology has unique advantages: potency, scalability, cost effectiveness, unique IP opportunities, sustainability at the core. And we use a fraction of the land, a fraction of the water, and a fraction of the energy. In fact, a couple of days ago, I paid our electricity bill for our 20-ton facility. Electricity and water bill was less than $10,000. Okay, and we're dealing with hundreds of bioreactors, just to show you the magnitude of sustainability advantage that our technology is able to offer. $10,000 on a monthly basis. And we see the ability for us to really elicitate such significant multiples across what we've done on red grape cells, olive cells, as well as pomegranate cells. And so this technology today, as we think about the company, is really the core of our competitive advantage from an R&D perspective and from a scaling and manufacturing perspective. And this technology today supports two significant business units. What we've really focused on and built together as partners over the last 2-3 years since I came into the company was the products division, the direct-to-consumer, direct-to-doctor product division. And this division, as we know, has been our profit engine. It's a recurring revenue business, which means we wake up in the morning and we have recharges on subscriptions. We have 90% subscriptions on our vineyard.com, and even our Amazon business has a very high subscription rate. It's a major cash generator for us. And obviously, we're very, very focused as a company to use this particular business unit to monetize the technology as soon as possible. And that's what we've been doing in the last couple of years, to the point that we will be breaking even. The focus is break even at EBITDA level in the third quarter. And we've 2x the business, and we're going to 2x the business again comfortably in 2024. And so this business has allowed us to actively monetize the power of our molecules, because we didn't want to wait 7 to 10 years to develop a botanical drug or a biological drug, right? We had to move fast to monetize and to validate the sheer magnitude and power of our botanical synthesis process technology to the world and to industry leaders across these key verticals. And so now, 2 weeks ago, we announced at Bio, and we waited for the right moment for this, because as a company, we wanted to make sure that we came out there with a unique strength, with earning our stripes in the sense of sizable revenue, predictability on revenue, and you've seen that, predictability also on gross margin improvements, predictability on profitability. And then in the services CDMO business unit, we didn't just come out and say we're launching a services CDMO business unit. We came out with 2 signed contracts that our R&D team is working like Trojans on doing the stage 1 cell bank generation work, mirroring and multiplication. And Zaki will talk more about that. And this was very, very well received by the analysts that we're speaking to, because they realize now that we as a company are all about execution. It's about credibility. It's about predictability. And this is really, really important as we, as partners, look and focus our energy to bring the company to a larger exchange in the US in the second half of this year. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time just giving you an update on the products division. There's been a lot of questions asked in the last few weeks, and I'm going to address some of them. And then I'm going to hand over to Zaki to share with you, how we're really operationalizing the dream. And a lot of this has been Zaki's dream, as we've really brought together the forces of biology and mathematics together. Many of you may not know, but Zaki has 2 PhDs in mathematics. He doesn't like to talk about himself, but it's that knowledge and competency as we bring the powerful worlds of mathematics and biology together that's really going to allow us to accelerate the impact of our botanical synthesis process technology by leveraging the power and strength of company leaders across these major verticals. So everybody understands VINIA, which has been the core force of what we've been driving. We've seen consistent growth quarter by quarter. Our fourth quarter results will come out in roughly middle of April. We're just going through the final audits on this. But we've mentioned that we believe that fourth quarter again was another strong quarter. We've mentioned that the full year north of $12.4 million, and we beat the estimates on the fourth quarter. We have now a customer base of more than 50,000 active customers across US and Israel, and a very strong exit revenue for December 23. December was a huge month, and we have had continued momentum as we look at January, February, and now as I sit here in the middle of March. And obviously, we're very focused on executing the new SKUs. We all understand the critical clinical trials that we've done and the mechanism of action of VINIA, so I'm not going to go through this. But we've really started to execute very strongly on our pipeline. The coffee launch that we had in the marketplace in early December, we're starting to see really strong traction, and we continue to do work on bringing our protein bars and specifically the big bet on hydration to the marketplace. On the coffee side, the results are super encouraging. In fact, today, just as literally I put this chart in about 20 minutes ago because all the reviews have started to come in as we reached like that 3-month mark. And you can see the kind of quality reviews that we're getting in. I need this coffee every day. I love the taste. I feel more energy. It was purchased for myself, but my son tried it, and now he's drinking it every day. I need to hide it so he doesn't drink it all. I definitely feel more alert, faster in the AM than usual. And you can all read faster than I can talk, but we're consistently seeing great reviews on coffee. It's all about sensory performance, superior sensory performance, and superior efficacy backed by our superior science. And ladies and gentlemen, it's now available on Amazon. Okay. And we've seen some good initial momentum on Amazon. But if any of you shareholder partners, you want to go out and buy your VINIA coffee, if you haven't bought it yet, go out and buy it from Amazon, and please enjoy it, enjoy the experience, and then leave us a review. If you look at Amazon right now, we have 16 reviews. Before I can start really spending serious money behind us on Amazon, you got to get to about 25 reviews. Otherwise, the algorithms are not efficient. So we're working hard to honestly and legitimately, the right way, get reviews. So if any of you have friends that enjoy coffee or yourselves, go out and order our VINIA Superfood coffee on Amazon and then share with us an honest review. That's my only ask from today, okay? I want to share with you just a quick 1-minute piece of work that Yves from our performance marketing team has produced, just to show you the kind of firepower we're going to put behind coffee. This is super amazing work, just showing you the power of when VINIA comes together with a delivery system like coffee. So I'm going to play this now and enjoy this. Beautiful piece of work, as we really optimize the branding and all the other factors and tell the story. And I told my team that I challenged them, we're going to have a Super Bowl commercial next year. So always good to have some big aspirations. So, okay. We have our Nespresso pods we're working really hard on, and we've made good progress in that area, which we'll be looking at bringing to the market end of second quarter, maybe early third quarter, but try and get that in by end of second quarter. And then we've started to develop an amazing line of teas, a green tea and a black tea product. In fact, today I did a sensory evaluation on the green tea with matcha. It tastes amazing. Really, really excited as we bring this hot beverage delivery system with the functional benefits of VINIA to consumers. Protein bars, continue to finalize the work. We'll go into final taste testing shortly. And then on the hydration product, we've made really good progress. We've just finished testing the hydrogen levels that we have, utilizing the labs that do all the testing and validation for the International Hydrogen Association. And we have, I'm very pleased to say, at least 2 times the levels of efficacy required from a hydrogen perspective in each of our sachets. So really looking forward to the clinical trial that we're going to be shortly commencing, whereby we're going to be seeing the powerful impact of VINIA together with hydrogen. And the two of them are real forces in reducing oxidative stress from an overall cell perspective. And that's really what's going to help, we believe, drive significant outcomes as it relates to muscle performance and recovery, making this, the gold standard of hydration for elite athletes, whether it's on the sports field, whether it's in the military. This is where we really want to take this product. One of the areas that you haven't seen me speak about, which you'll start to see us talk about more specifically because it's very important for our products business, our products business unit, as well as important as we start to work in the CDMO services business with major cosmetic companies. If you actually look at the key molecules that we're producing, these composites of actual molecules together forming complex molecules, you're able to see that, piceid resveratrol, verbascoside, and our PGD polyphenol from pomegranates, they have really been clinically validated in a number of preclinicals and human clinical trials to have significant benefits as it relates to topical solutions, topical therapeutic solutions, skincare, whether it's both in the cosmetic space or more in also the OTC space. And this is important to understand. And we've now started to move ahead to think about how we bring this to life in our own product line. And obviously, this will be an important part of our discussions as we look at partnering with key cosmeceutical companies for the CDMO business. And our plan in the second half of this year is to launch our first topical solution in the beauty space. The whole anti-aging skincare market is huge, $21 billion market. The margins in this area are nothing short of extraordinary, specifically in the direct-to-consumer business. And we're working very hard to bring the power of piceid resveratrol together in a topical solution, focusing on a whole anti-aging proposition. We're looking at basically looking at it from the inside and the outside. So you take your VINIA capsules in the morning. Obviously, we know from work we've done in Korea that just taking VINIA systemically, we've seen very, very positive outcomes from overall skincare. And then obviously applying a night cream in the evening, we're going to be able to really address a number of key benefits that consumers are looking for from an anti-aging perspective. And we're going to be going into clinical trials with the skincare research center in Miami in the next couple of months. Obviously, whatever we bring to market are going through this level of quality validation. So super exciting as we start to look at how we monetize our botanical synthesis technology in our direct-to-consumer products division, right? And this is really so you kind of start to see the roadmap and really understanding how this forms really the basis, the core capabilities from R&D and manufacturing perspective that, I guess, supercharges our direct-to-consumer products business unit and the services CDMO business unit. So at this juncture, I would like to hand over to Dr. Zaki Rakib, who is not just the chairman of the company, but also is leading the charge. And this is something that Dr. Zaki insisted and wanted to do. I didn't have to, twist his arm. He's working now at his tender young age of mid-60s, my hours. And that's just driven by just sheer passion and belief and conviction of our ability to really change the world from a human utility value as we basically open the platform to all the industry thought leaders to leverage their muscle, their distribution muscle, their marketing muscle, to bring our unique molecules to consumers, and obviously in a development process that we'll be working with them all the way through to a partnership royalty model that Zaki will talk more about. So Zaki, over to you, and I'll drive the charts. You let me know.
Thanks, Ilan. So thanks everyone for taking the time and be with us this afternoon, evening, depends on where you are. I mean, last time I addressed some of you was 4 years ago when I introduced Ilan. I'm really glad we've had an amazing journey where results that you've seen over the years. But really, this announcement about the CDMO is in particular exciting for me because it's this culmination of so many years and it's that intersection between math and biology that is extremely exciting and very, very unique in our proposition. So what we're offering is our platform technology, our process technology. And why can we really offer it? It's because we have proven over the years that it is repeatable and predictable. Those are two important elements to take a technology and claim it is a platform technology. We've done that on many species and many subspecies, and we have registered and accumulated tens of thousands of experiments that were analyzed over the last year. When Ilan said that we've spent the last year, and that's what I did, working closely with the CTO, Dr. Yochi Chagai, and co-founder, and Dr. Malkit and her team in the R&D side, we've done really skunk work, but very important analytical work, as I said, mathematical work, to understand the power of the botanical synthesis technology. And the conclusion is that we can avail this process for others to develop new molecules. Ilan went to lengths to explain the difference between the type of molecules that we can bring to the market. We actually can bring small molecules, complex molecules, and a complex of complex molecules. But the way we will avail our botanical synthesis platform is through a mix of the development, which is a 15 to 24 months, with NRE costs paid by the customer that range between $1.5 to $2.5 million. And then you have the manufacturing side of the CDMO, which will be on a royalty base. If you can go to the next slide, please. So really, this represents the architecture of our service. So we've architected the service of availing the technology, the process technology, in such way where it really allows the customer to take full advantage of the inherent capabilities that our process technology has. More specifically on the development side, it's step 1, step 2, and step 3. Step 1 is really where math and biology get married. For years, they have not been, they don't get along. They're not known to get along so much, but here we force them to get married in the Holy Land. Step one, within 3 to 6 months from the time we meet the plant, be it the customer asking us to develop certain molecules with him knowing which plant they want to get the molecules from, we can produce a very small biomass of the particular composition we're looking for, but we have already the chemical composition that is a prediction of what would it be after in large-scale manufacturing with a super high degree of accuracy. This is unprecedented in biology. It was only enabled because of the ability to apply mathematical algorithms combined with the biology experiments. So think about biology experiments and mathematical experiments working together to enable the prediction capability. So in 6 months, the customer can already analyze the composition, economically can figure out if it's going to be fitting the bill or doesn't fit the bill, can look at potential efficacy of the molecules and the concentration of the molecules, and can even start the process of patenting. Because remember, one of the unique things about our technology, beside the consistency of production, is the ability to patent those compositions or those molecules. This is very unique. And 6 months at a threshold that we've decided, or to be a low threshold of entry, $250,000 to $300,000, a customer can lock a composition. And then, should he decide to continue further, we go into step 2 with NRE between 350 and 700K. So in 6 to 9 months later, he has a significant, I'm talking tens of kilograms of biomass of what is going to be the final composition, which he can start doing clinical trials, preclinical trials, perception trials, market trials, whatever experiments that are required to be able to guarantee the commerciality or the commercial availability of such a product. After step 2, we go into the final development step, which ends with the large-scale bioreactors. And what we do in this step is mimicking what will end up being in the industrial stage, which is the M side, the manufacturing side of the CDMO. So the last step is $1 million to $1.5 million. So once again, a low threshold to enter, which allows us a significant number of customers in no time. We have hardly announced the CDMO, and we already have signed, as we announced 2 weeks earlier, we already have signed 2 contracts, one with a pharma company, and the other one is with a nutrition company for 2 unique molecules. And we expect to see this year at least 10 additional projects that will come in step 1. Some of them will already converge into step 2, and of course next year into step 3, as we will be expecting to see more projects coming in. For that purpose, we actually have about to finalize a deal, a real estate deal, which will allow us to get more space, especially as we run. Think about our development is like a factory. We're running multiple projects simultaneously. We celebrated today the first robot, which allows us to simultaneously have multiple Petri dishes, which is part of our first step. We try to automate as much as possible the process so that we can run as many biological experiments simultaneously. Next slide, please.
Can you just explain to our shareholder partners what NRE is, just so they understand?
Yes, it's a non-recurring engineering. It's a term that specifies the fact that it's just a one-time cost for a very particular project that is non-recurring necessarily. It's non-recurring unless you have another plant that you want to run by the same process. Thanks.
And then obviously in step 4, we move to a partnership royalty model, which is a long-term partnership model at significant gross profit margins for the company.
Needless to say, as Ilan just mentioned, is that this business is very high gross profit, and is a positive cash flow producer very quickly. And even with the NRE alone and the number of projects that will come in, it's a business that generates positive cash flow. Next slide. So why is it also in terms of the cycles? Think about it. Pharma is very lucrative, but pharma has a longer cycle until you get into manufacturing. But the other businesses, the other verticals that we serve, cover for that. So we cover nutrition, we cover nutraceuticals, we cover cosmeceuticals, and we cover pharmaceuticals. When you combine all of them, you have continuity and you have continuous growth in revenue and, of course, in profits. We have already signed those 2 deals that I mentioned, but the pipeline is filling very quickly, and I'm very confident that we will be able to get 10 additional projects in 2024. What is very unique, and I mentioned earlier, math meets biology, and artificial intelligence is math. So artificial intelligence meets botanical synthesis in 2 areas. One, in improving the efficiency of our development cycle. Think about it. We do biological experiments, then we do mathematical experiments, we do machine learning, which feeds back what we do on the botanical synthesis process. So what we know today takes 18 months, in 2 years may take 9 months or less. But not less importantly is that what we're learning together with our process will enable us to start building libraries. Ultimately, we will avail those libraries to our customers. They can choose from the molecules that can be synthesized by plants. So this library will be a library of synthesizable molecules. Molecules that we know we can use or we can synthesize using our process. Some of those libraries will be produced only mathematically, and some of them will require some additional biological verification and validation tests. So in 2 fronts, we will be able to use AI. And in that, on that matter, we just announced today 2 key hires. So the confidence about, next slide, I think it is. Yes. So why am I so confident about the ability to get those deals and to be very successful with them? Not only do we have the technology to do it, but also we are making some key hires. We announced today that Professor Itai Meroz joined us in leading the AI capabilities, and also Matt Zrubic, sorry if I didn't pronounce it properly, as our Vice President of Business Development. Matt brings about 20 years of experience in the CDMO space, in particular in pharma, and Matt will be based in the US, whereas Itai is based in Israel. I'll hand it. Yeah, I mean, this we can spend a minute here on this slide. So, yeah, okay. So once again, to summarize, the CDMO is the enabling service for the development of what we call Biologics Plus. Biologics Plus are biologics as we know them today in just large and complex molecules, but we also can produce small molecules, and we can produce the combination of small and large molecules. So Biologics Plus can address multiple industries. It enables the pharma companies to also go after over-the-counter or other non-FDA path pharmaceutical development. So we open up the gate of the botanics, or basically the 500,000 plants that exist, to create almost an endless number of molecules that can serve the pharma industry, the nutrition industry, the cosmetics industry, as well as the nutraceutical industry.
So to summarize, what makes me so excited is that, to summarize, in addition to what we're charging ahead doing with our direct-to-consumer products business, on the services CDMO business, very quickly, we're going to have 20 to 30 highly patented, unique plant molecules, which have been developed for specific health and wellness benefits. And we're going to be able to monetize those molecules working with partners who have much bigger arms and legs and muscles and spending power behind at literally higher margins. This business produces higher margins than our products business, which already, we're aiming to deliver very, very strong, viable margins that bring a highly profitable business. So this is just the way for us to really do two things. One, create, as I talk about all the time, create the ability to scale so quickly and deliver human utility value to literally millions of people much quicker than we could do it ourselves, because we don't have those arms and legs and muscles. We're not a distribution company, a marketing company. We're at the core a biotech company that has amazing capabilities in R&D and manufacturing. And with their arms and muscles and legs, not only do we deliver a human utility value, but that's going to derive significant shareholder value for us. And these two businesses, they really work beautifully together. They are so synergistic. And that's what, Zaki and I really love about bringing these two businesses together underneath the roof of BioHarvest Sciences, obviously supported and anchored in our botanical synthesis technology. So on the product division, we're monetizing, we're validating all the time and learning. We're developing new molecule ideas. We're doing all the regulatory and clinical advisory work. And all of that feeds into the services division. So it's making our services business units smarter and smarter. And then we monetize. And then we do machine learning and optimization because we've got more and more molecules going through our system. And that will build for us a better understanding of the market so we can go and develop our own new product ideas that we can decide to basically drive in our products division. And ultimately, by doing the two together, we have massive manufacturing scale. And that's going to just drive costs down and increase margins. So there's so much synergy as we bring these two businesses together. And really, for us, 2024 is going to be the year to not only, drive profitability into our products division, but ultimately build the critical virtuous cycle of these two business units working synergistically together. So, really, when you step back and we look at the journey that we all have been on as investor partners together, myself being obviously an investor in the company, that's how I came to the company. We have an exciting direct-to-consumer products business. We're targeting north of 2x year-over-year revenue growth with our current plant molecules that we have. The expectation for 2024, we want to get to a class of 10 in 2024. In 2025, it'll go probably from 10 to 25. And we're thinking ahead on how we can resource that and get smarter with robotics to be able to do more and more, and making sure we have the right mix between pharma, cosmetics, and nutraceutical partners, and then some partners in let's call it the premium food space. This ultimately is going to allow us to drive EBITDA profitability, and we're focusing to target Q3 2024 in this area. And in the same part of this, we're starting to think broader and how we start to look at localizing production for our business, because when we're bringing all these partners into our business, obviously production on US soil is going to be very, very important. And that's something we got to start thinking about now so that we're able to produce in that cycle of 15 to 24 months of R&D, right? And as you come through that cycle and you move to the royalty-based manufacturing model, we need to be producing and have a factory up and running in the US, which is going to start to be much higher on my priority list in the next 3 to 4 months. So these are, when you step back, I think we've achieved a lot. There's been a tremendous amount of patience on your behalf. From us, it's been just hard toil and sweat and conviction and belief in the core technology and the capabilities. And I really feel like we've finally found the secret sauce, if you want to call it, on how we really avail this technology to the world in the sense of our own direct-to-consumer, direct-to-doctor products division, that we can drive impact in the countries and the channels that, you know, we are maniacally focused on driving, and then really just opening up the power of the platform to other companies to partner with us with a profit sharing model that just makes a lot of sense and gives them also the ability to develop differentiated molecules that they have the ability to own from a composition perspective, which really is a game changer for these companies because they could not do this before. There's no technology that's been able to do this before. So I stand here, you know, feeling very humbled by the feedback we've got over the last 2 weeks. As Justin said, I had 6 meetings today, back to back. They were all really good meetings. And looking forward to, you know, the year ahead and what we can accomplish. We have aggressive goals. The management team that we've built is super strong. Everybody's aligned with very clear KPIs and objectives, and we're all incentivized around it. And everything is really focused on really driving the growth and the efficiency that we need as a business to be able to drive the shareholder value, and then importantly, just driving human utility value, because we all know, rationally and emotionally and spiritually, that if we're focused on driving human utility value, and we continue every single day to drive a transformational positive change in people's health and wellness, the shareholder value will come through to all of us. So I'm going to stop now, Justin, and open it up and stop sharing and open it up for questions. I'm sure there's a lot of questions that our shareholder partners have.
Yeah, great job. Thank you both. I've been writing down questions from the outset, and you answered that last slide. I'll ask it a different way. For production facilities, so people have long asked whether or not we would have research in the US, but you're saying it is feasible and likely that there will be a production facility in the US.
Yeah, and I'll say this straight out, we have to have manufacturing at a scale level significantly greater than what we have today, probably a factor of 7 to 8 times. You know, when we think about the future, we think about the pipeline that Zaki touched on very carefully. And we understand the magnitude of the companies that we're bringing into our pipeline. You know, we have to be looking at a facility which is going to be north of 150 tons and modular, so that we can have literally bays and buildings for different companies. And then obviously core services that'll feed each of these modular bioreactor halls, let's call it. And, you know, obviously for us now on the last trip to the US, a lot of conversations starting to understand from people that are really close to the ground, which are the respective states in the US that we feel are going to be really the most open to bringing a biotech company of us. And when I say open, also we're looking very carefully at the incentives that they would bring to the table to have our kind of technology in the respective state. And I believe that with the right diligence and the right process, you know, we will land the right location that's going to give us a lot of financial assistance and a lot of financial benefits to bring our technology to that specific state. And that's going to be something that's like on my KPIs for the board over the next 3 to 4 months. It's a big focus. So, and that makes sense because I'll be in the US a lot, as we've talked about, Justin, just in the context of what we're trying to do from a financial markets perspective, and just the required engagement that we need with broader investors, retail institution, analysts, etc.
Yeah, Zach, I have a couple of questions for you, but just to follow up that in line, there are questions just for you to comment on our market activity, our daily volume. There's one question that we should be at 500,000 shares traded a day, which is low. But can you comment on what we're doing to impact that?
So if you ask me, we should be at 5 million shares traded per day. Look, this is something that I think about all the time. And I must tell you that the trip that I had with Zaki to the US. It was myself, Zaki, Justin was there. We also had our chief medical officer, Dr. Brian, helping us engage with a number of the different customers. As we started to engage with different investors, with analysts, it's important to recognize that this really is the first time that I've done this in 4 years, right? And I mean, part of it is unconscious because we had COVID. The other part is really conscious. And Zaki and I had a lot of discussions around what's the right time to really bring the company out with strength. Because I really fear that, a lot of companies come out too early and they beat their chests, and I don't want to go down that path. So I really feel that right now, and I can sense it in the dialogues that we're having with different stakeholders that we're meeting with, because they see a company that has technology that's deep, that's mature, that's being codified, and that's something I'll talk about probably at our next shareholder meeting, how we're codifying the manufacturing technology and what we're doing in that area with Dr. Ilana, our COO, which I'm super proud of. But they're seeing a level of maturity in the technology. They're seeing that maturity translate into hardcore business results in the context of our products division, where one SKU, $12.5 million, direct to consumer. Show me another company that's done that, right? In 2 years, less than 2 years. Show me. And then they start to see the magnitude of the opportunities and the different delivery channels that we have as it relates to hot beverages, snacks, hydration. And now we're looking at skincare, which is massive opportunity. And then we're going to do the same thing with olive cells. And that's, literally we're now going through the regulation process and the clinical trial process. And then we'll do it with pomegranate. And you have a super, super interesting business there. And we've already earned stripes. So I feel comfortable now to be actually talking about the business because, there's credibility there, right? And same thing on the CDMO services business. We worked hard to get 2 contracts. We didn't go out without those contracts, right? And you'll start to see us, with a good pipeline announcing contracts. And that's what the markets want to see. So all of this combined with obviously the need to move to an exchange, which is more accessible, right? We're going to start, I believe that over time, and this is the other thing that I realized as well through my visit, that it just doesn't happen like this, right? You've got to engage. There's multiple touch points. And there is basically, I call it a path to purchase. It's not like, Harry Maguire saying, buy, 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 right? There's a path to purchase. You have to meet, you have to engage, they have to see consistency in performance, predictability. But I do believe we're doing all the right moves now with credibility, with integrity, to be, starting to expose the company to new eyeballs. Because really in the last 12 months, there's been no new eyeballs. It's the same eyeballs that we've been talking to. All of you who are super, super committed and are amazing partners in this journey. We haven't expanded that. So literally, you'll start to see a lot more from me in this area. It's a major focus now that Zaki's coming in, running the CDMO business unit that he helped found. We also have an amazing partner in Jared, who's going to be stepping up and running now the direct-to-consumer products division. And that's really leaving me a lot more time to be doing what I need to be doing to bring the company to a larger exchange in the near future, and to be having the kind of dialogues and engagements with, family offices, with institutions, and in order to bring those new eyeballs whilst ultimately making sure that these business units are charging and we're delivering the top line and bottom line performance of the company.
Good answer. Zaki, I can see that you're digging into that pile of questions. Don't panic. It's my job to summarize them for you. Well, if you ask a question, we don't answer it today, we will follow up in the next 24 hours. Zaki, just a couple people are asking, Elon mentioned margins. What sort of margins can be expected in a CDMO business model?
Gross profit margin north of 80%.
Cool. And then Elon, where do you think we are right now on the product side?
So we had in third quarter, we announced 45%, and that was versus 18% the previous year. we have a very clear, visible roadmap to get from 45 into the mid 60s. I believe that we've made strong progress in the fourth quarter, which will be reported shortly. And I believe we're doing the right things in the first quarter. We've just done some experiments on the next level of bioreactors. And like Zaki said, it's about mathematics and biology, and we understand the mathematics. We understand the code really well. And this is, again, part of our IP. And we've had some good success with even larger bioreactors now. We're focused on getting over the course of the year to the mid 60s level. And with the level of our churn rate continuing to come down and our cost of acquisition improving, and really what's happening, Justin, and I see it now. Actually, I talked to Jared about this this morning. What I would encourage all of you, you'll see it. Like what you learn from the reviews, everybody, and I know some of you shareholder partners out there, you're watching the reviews, you're seeing how many reviews come every single week, and you do your math around it. But do me a favor, read the reviews, because you'll learn so much from reading the reviews. And I read every single review in this company comes into my inbox and Dr. Brian's inbox, every review. Okay. And one of the things we started to see is the impact of organic growth, whereby you have households that basically all of a sudden it's one person was on Vinia. 3 months later, you have 2 people on Vinia. And then they've told their friends, because their friends have noticed when they met them for Christmas and New Year. And I swear to God, we saw it. We saw it because I didn't spend more on advertising. Really, we didn't spend more on advertising, Justin, but we could see the number of people on the site just jump after Christmas, New Year, right? And we saw conversion rates increasing. And so, when you think about it, what's happening here? What's happening here is word of mouth, good old word of mouth. And there's nothing better than organic word of mouth communication, because families were together in Christmas and New Year, and they talk about their health, and they talk about what they're doing to change their life. And it's New Year resolutions. And we just saw this like boop in the business, which is super encouraging. And so, this is the critical things that are helping us also drive, because that's not just driving gross profit margin, but it also drives contribution margin, which is basically reducing the percentage of allocation of sales and marketing expenses, where we're starting to get more and more efficient in that area. So, we'll continue to get smarter and smarter, and with the efficacy of the product, these are all factors that, start to build a really nice recurring cash generating business. Because, every morning we're getting the recharges on subscription, and it comes straight from Shopify into our bank account every day. So that really helps, obviously, with cash flow that we can then utilize to help expand and build the business.
Zaki, there's a couple questions. There's sort of 3. I'll get to the third one. People are asking, and for the past couple of weeks, asking for some more detail on the 2 companies that have been signed, and there's non-disclosure agreements. At what point in the development process, if it's successful, would companies be able to talk about a commercial agreement with us, for example? And then do you expect that there will be a combination of new contracts that have NDAs and other ones that are, we can speak more openly about them? People are asking about the nature of the pipeline and what to expect.
Well, the answer is on the first one is it really depends on those particular customers, and it does potentially, our success could potentially impact their existing supply. So that's a very sensitive situation. I can't comment on when would we be able to announce those 2 contracts, the details behind the 2 contracts that we've already signed. But I expect among the 10 contracts that I'm looking at for the next year or so, is at least half of them will be announceable. I mean, there will be cases I can think of that the customer is not going to have any issue with announcing such a contract. And that's not less importantly is announcing the success of moving from one step to another. From our perspective, we want to have the ability to share this information with the world and so that people can appreciate the magnitude and what impact this have on the financials. But I look, I'm very optimistic about that. At least half of the projects will be announceable.
And then I really liked the virtuous circle you showed, because I do get a lot of questions. There's a great one here. How do you make sure the CDMO doesn't hurt the products business and vice versa?
That's a great question.
We have to
answer that question.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Look, what we've been able to do, and Zaki and I have worked, really hard about this in the context of prioritization of resources and sequencing. That's really, at the end of the day, is critical role that we have to play every day. And what we realize is that, the R&D work on red grape cells molecule and olive molecule, it's done, right? R&D don't have to do anything. So, what we've done now is we've just pointed all of that available resource to the CDMO. And you have people that have so much knowledge, literally so much knowledge, so much experience. They're so good at what they do. And then, building automation, and that's a huge push that Zaki's been pushing us on automation, whether it's automation in how we prepare experiments, automation in the experiments, and then bringing the whole mathematical elements into it and other elements of technology, and then the AI layer. Ultimately, what we're doing is we're building enormous efficiency into those units, and they're separate resources. So like the products business unit today, right, ultimately is focused on marketing, right? It's marketing. The product development we're doing, it's not our R&D. When I'm developing tea, I'm just getting a WhatsApp now from our partner, McKinsey at Joe's Coffee Garage. She's busy, texting me now different types of black tea variants that we're looking at. I mean, they're doing the work, right? And we work with them. But they're the guys who are figuring out how to get the tea to work within the Keurig system and together with our vineyard. So that's not our resource. So our resources are pointed now at developing high value generating plant molecules, right? And then obviously there's the manufacturing piece now. So all the work that Ilana and the team are doing in manufacturing to get better and better at scaling, it just allows us, and we've got now the 15 to 24 months of R&D, or call it development work mostly, and that gives us the time to really take our manufacturing to the next level. And Justin, you've seen this. You saw some of the videos of the bioreactors, and obviously we're very careful in showing publicly, but just, the gigantic leap in size of the bioreactors and being able to do that in an efficient way. Basically, whatever Ilana does, it supports the products business and it supports the services business, right? So bottom line is, it's about basically having distinct resources in the company doing work, not piling too much on people. And then obviously in areas which cross both paths, which is manufacturing, whether I'm manufacturing an enzyme from certain cells with one of our contracts, or I'm manufacturing our red grape cells, it's all the same, right? It's all the same from a manufacturing perspective. So they're not competing with each other. Where it gets interesting, and which is why I said earlier, we've got to get that US facility up and running, and there'll probably be an interim step, in the next 12 months, because based on the rate of growth that we have now as a company, our existing 20-ton facility will be out of capacity pretty much in second quarter of next year. So we're obviously we have to work now. It was much quicker than we ever imagined, which is a good problem to have. But we're now working hard to be able to solve that problem. And that'll be more of a local solution, because the US solution is just going to be like a facility that, as I said, it's 7 to 8 times what we have right now. And all the work that Ilana is doing now, we're almost done digitizing everything in the plant. It's mind blowing, the vision that we have and how we utilizing technology, how we're understanding the behavior of the cells and literally the lineage of the cells and the ability to drive even further optimization. I don't like to talk about it a lot because it's such a critical core part of our IP and know-how, and that's what we're doing now. So it's all like in preparation for what we need to do ultimately once the contracts come through. Zaki and the R&D team have enough successes that get through each of the 4 steps, and then we have 3 or 4 royalty agreements with massive manufacturing contracts that we're producing, in North America for these companies closer to their markets. So, that's the plan, and the resources are we're obviously growing our workforce, but it's very purposeful. It's very thoughtful because we're watching OpEx really carefully, but we can do it because we've redirected resources.
Okay. There's a bunch of questions, Zaki, when you're speaking about the royalties there, Elon. I think it's people asking the pricing structure of the CDMO. Under your standard, under a standardized agreement, is it safe to say that each step it would be revenue positive? Like, is there a risk? People are asking if there's risk there when we engage in contracts, or
no, although profits may vary from one step to another. Like step 1 is maybe a step with a little less profit because we wanted to make sure that we've lowered the threshold to allow more projects. Think about it from our perspective: more projects, more learning. Remember, machine learning, more projects allows us to learn more, to be more efficient. So then we make more money in the development process. No, but it's from the get-go. It's a positive contributor. That's good. The way it's the.
And then Elon mentioned so.
Go ahead.
So good. And so I get questions. There's more here today, and Elon just mentioned it. Can you comment on like the nature of what we envision at the end, that royalty agreement? People are typing in royalties.
Well, there will be royalty. The royalties will vary on the industry. The beauty of the way, because we're diversified across multiple industries, you will have, like, the nutrition industry will be high volume, okay, will be lower margins, but this volume creates the economies of scale, which allows us to produce everything at much lower price. So it all works synergetically. It will vary by industry. Pharma will have, in terms of the royalties, will be much higher versus, nutrition in the middle. Cosmetics will actually be a very profitable part of our business as well, in terms of the absolute amount of royalties that we'll be able to extract.
And I think what's important to understand is that we're not a plant molecule supplier. We're a strategic partner of these companies. And that's the dialogue that we're having now with a lot of these companies, where they're looking at us and they're saying, look, we want you to help build our pipeline 18, 24 months out, because we've got to start, we need to have pipelines of new product ideas, new molecules that we bring into the marketplace. And that's why these are not like one-off ingredient deals or molecule deals. These are deep partnerships that we're looking at with these companies. Because ultimately, we're going to be manufacturing. They have the IP on the actual composition. We always have the IP, obviously, on the process. And so that, there's a tight relationship here. And that's why, it's not like a cost plus model or whatever. It's a royalty model. And we're also being very, very choiceful on which ones we're basically more aggressive to go after and which ones we're not. Because, we've got to make sure that whilst the learning's really, really important, we've got to make sure that we're optimizing the use of our bioreactors to be able to generate the optimal amount of revenue in the future.
Thank you. Zaki, there's a question there from Peter. I don't know if that's one that we can safely answer in public. Elon, speaking of the product roadmap, so people, just to make sure, and you did touch on this, does the new CDMO research contracts, do they have any impact on the products business product pipeline?
No, absolutely not. As I said, the resources, basically are not needed.
No, it's not just the resources. I think, maybe it's the question is not just the resources. Is it possible? The question also about, is there any conflict between on the products between the two divisions? Is that like ownership or molecules? But I agree with Elon on the resources. There are actually no conflicts whatsoever. And you look at the synergy, I think they work in tandem. There are cases where we might even look at some of the molecules we already developed and we intended to take them on the product side, and then we may avail them to someone else because it will be more profitable for us. There's actually a lot of interesting things. And the other way around, there may be cases where, by the way, we partner. Like one of the molecules of the two projects, we decided to partner because we believe that the upside is really significant if we get it if we end up developing this molecule. So there's a lot of interesting dynamics between the two.
There's a lot of optionality. There's a lot of optionality for us.
Thank you. There's a lot of, I don't know, there's a lot of questions. Please keep them coming. We will get them all. Is there any chance that the North American facility would be in Canada?
I think the preference is going to be in USA, but we haven't made up our mind. But I think just as far as being close to the required customers, I always learned from my 18 years at Coke, it's always good to be close to your customers. A lot of our customers are North American. Their biggest markets are North America. So, I would say that most likely, but we haven't ruled out Canada. If it makes sense from a financial perspective and logistics and supply chain and access to labor makes sense, we're still pretty open-minded. But USA.
Can you comment? Thank you. Can you comment on, people are asking about, you mentioned Q3, EBITDA, break even. People are asking about cash flow, comments on the treasury, standing up the new CDMO business. Can you comment on the financial position of the company?
Look, what I can say is that, we were very successful in raising money in the convertible loan in the last trimester of last year. We brought on board some fantastic investor partners, just quality of people, sophistication, understanding of our technology, willingness to help us. In fact, one of these partners has come on board as a senior advisor to the company and is helping me tremendously. And Zaki, given he's got great experience in the financial markets. So that was a very successful raise. Obviously, our burn rate is coming down every single month as we start to scale the business. But obviously, we do have the need for more capacity, and we just got to figure out how we do that and the different ways that we can do that. And so we're rolling around in a few different areas. But I think, we'll share more about that probably in the first quarter update, and we'll have a better idea just on where we stand in those areas. But all the financial indicators are moving in the right direction, as it relates to significant revenue growth increase, margin improvements, burn rate coming down. But, we're at the same time, we're trying to accelerate the business. We're trying to just grow a business, and, that will require cash at some time, given our what we believe is going to be the significant capacity that we need to build. And there's always a lead time around that. So, but we're thinking creatively around that, and that's an ongoing discussion with Zaki and myself and the board.
Yeah, quick one. What percentage would you estimate of our shares are held by insiders?
Zaki, you can answer that as chairman.
The estimate on how much of the shares are held by insiders?
Yes.
A little above 50%.
Yeah, that's a good question. There's a lot of questions about the size of our bioreactors, which I think are partly industry people and partly our followers.
You're gonna have to lock me down and I don't really want to go down that path, but that's there's certain secrets, but they're getting super big, and they're getting bigger and bigger, and they'll continue to get bigger and bigger because this gentleman over here, he's a mathematician, and he's done his math to say this is how big they can be, and normally he's right on this stuff. So until we prove him wrong, we'll keep on getting bigger and bigger. We do have some limitations. Again, just being fully transparent, our plant right now is on the second floor. And so we have some challenges on weight bearing, but we're busy thinking that through. And that's part of the thinking, as I said, we run out of capacity in 12 months' time. And so the next plant for sure will be on the ground floor where weight bearing is not an issue. But that's actually, and it's very important for me to say this from a emotional level. We lost a very dear friend and advisor to the company, John Paul Sangiovanni. And John Paul Sangiovanni was an exceptional individual. He passed away tragically in September of last year. And he left a legacy for Zaki and I from every single meeting. He was just so passionate about us getting our technology to a scalable level where we can start to impact the food chain. Because the food chain today is just nothing short of disastrous when you look at what the average consumer is consuming and the lack of nutrition. You look at the nutrition today in a loaf of bread versus 20 years ago, it's a filler versus nutrients. A filler today, nutrients 20 years ago. And our technology has enormous application in the food, literally the regular food chain. And so, I always have JP Sangiovanni's words in my ears saying, Ilan, you can do it. You can't stop. You got to get to the point where it makes sense for every company to be able to use your technology in food. And because that's when you're going to totally change the whole food chain, right? When you look at the herbicides, insecticides, heavy metals, we don't deal with any of this. And, so Zaki's the mathematician. He knows what the North Star is. John Paul Sangiovanni, in blessed memory, is the spirit that lives inside, my heart and definitely Dr. Brian's heart as well. And it's been infectious. And, that's, we'll keep on pushing things, and Ilana and the team and with Dr. Yochi's support, we'll get to pools. We'll get to bioreactor pools. I mean, like swimming pools. We'll get there. We will get there. It's a mad desire in our company to get to that level, because we want to get to that level of economic viability.
We're coming up to our 90 minutes. There's a lot of questions. I will get to them all. Maybe perhaps before, just some parting words from both you and Zaki. You've touched on an initiative to be on a senior U.S. listing. People have a lot of questions about that. I think quick comment.
I think both management and the board are totally aligned with this process. We have actually started that process, financed it. We're well on our way to do what filings are required to achieve that goal. We understand it. We've heard it loud and clear from many investors and many bankers that this is almost a prerequisite. A lot of institutional money is eager. They're sitting on the fence, waiting for us to get listed on a major exchange. And I'm very optimistic it will happen.
Zaki's going to make it my number one KPI. We're going to sit down and finalize KPIs over the weekend, and I'm sure that's going to be my number one KPI for my bonus. So, and literally, we prepared ourselves mentally. There's a lot of work that's been done. It's going to also take a lot for me on a personal level, spending probably 10 days a month in the US, because we got to do this the right way. We got to build the relationships with the right people. We got to be able to look people in the eye and talk to them and explain to them about our technology and show them things. And so, I've committed to that. I can't say my wife's so happy about it, but she understands it. But yeah, I mean, we're all fully committed, and it's a major focus, like Zaki said, for the board and for management and myself.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Please, final words, Zaki and Ilan.
I am philosophical. I found a sense of purpose here. I mean, and happiness is overrated. And without a sense of purpose, there is no happiness. So BioHarvest and what we are particularly doing, and we're making difference in people's lives. That's what Elon said every day when he wakes up and he looks at those reviews. But this is a bigger cause that we're serving here, and I think we will be rewarded. It's something positive, and we'll all be rewarded, shareholders included, of course. We'll all be rewarded. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Zaki, and it's really amazing to have you as part of this discussion tonight, and also for you to receive also the acknowledgement and the credit that you deserve for really being such an amazing partner and mentor and coach to me, and helping to really guide the North Star of the company strategically as we divide and conquer, as I like to say. I'm the operational executor, and you're driving that North Star. So it really is it's a great partnership. As Zaki and I spend pretty much 10, 12 hours together with each other today, except the Sabbath. He gets a break from me on the Sabbath. Thank God for the Sabbath.
Thank God for the Sabbath.
Justin, I'll just end off with a couple of, thoughts on reflection. Look, we're all part of something really special that's in our hands. And, one can't take that responsibility lightly. Like, that's what keeps me awake at night. Like, people will ask me this trip, what keeps you awake at night? And like, what keeps me awake at night is I understand the magnitude of the impact that this technology can drive for the world. And I'm so scared that I don't maximize this opportunity, right? And that's from a human utility value. And so that's really what causes me stress. I think I have the best job in the world. And I'm very, very privileged to have this ability to be in this role. I think there was divine intervention in many respects in how I got here. And I'm very, very lucky to have an amazing management team around me. I think we've built a dream team in the leadership team. We have a good board, a very supportive board. We have employees that are, really, they sign up for the cause, just amazing commitment in very challenging times. The last 6 months in Israel and the pressure that people have been under from an emotional perspective, from a family perspective. And, there's been no change in their commitment levels to the business to make sure that we're serving our customers really with servant leadership. So, it's about the ecosystem, and the ecosystem is infectious. When you have people that are all committed, employees, committed partners in our ecosystem, and really to all of you, 70 now, just under 80 people that have sat here for 90 minutes to listen to us. Just amazing commitment from our shareholder partners, and the amount of support that I've received in the last 6 months, emails from shareholder partners, just given a high degree of sensitivity to the challenges that we've been dealing with. I mean, this is really special. We're building something special, like Zaki said. We're building something special. We knew that 3 years ago. I think we've come a long way in the last 3.5 years. We've earned more stripes. We still have a long way to go. But we're getting there. And we're getting there with impact, social impact, health and wellness impact. And then, as I say, ultimately that'll lead to financial impact. But we have to stay focused on delivering that health and wellness impact, because that's the most important thing. And if we do that, everything else will come. So thank you to everybody for staying with us. Thank you for your commitment. Thank you for all your support. And looking forward to having a further discussion with you all sometime, probably third or fourth week of April, with the full year results, and probably a little bit of an update on first quarter, which is looking very, very, I can't give any guidance, but I would just say it's looking encouraging. So thank you.